everyone. Here we are back with episode 2 of the Let's Talk Real. I'm here with Kelly. Kelly, how are you doing?
Good. It's a great Monday morning, start off the week.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the week talking about real estate. Yay! So we wanted to kind of go over a quick recap of our last episode, which we were talking about the 2-in-1 buy down. So Kelly, I know you wanted to mention a couple of things from the last episode.
Yes, so we talked about the buy downs, and like I said from last week, the most popular is the 2-1 buy down, where percentage is calculated for you to buy down your rate. With the 2-1, if, for example, interest rates 7%, first year your interest rate would be 5%, second year it's 6%, and then the third year it goes up to the note rate. You do have to be qualified on that note rate. There's two things I want to point out that I didn't have for last week. The products that we offer the buy downs for are our conventional loans, our FHA loans, VA, and USDA. So we can do
all the major loan types.
All the major loan types we can use that on. And one big common question that people are going to have, so when you have the buy down, obviously you're buying it down, and that money gets put into an escrow account until the buy down, goes away and it's back to the note rate. So that money that sits in the escrow, if you were to refinance, which most likely you will refinance or sell your house, that money that's in an escrow gets put back down on the mortgage balance. So that money doesn't go away. It doesn't get lost. It doesn't disappear. It does get applied to the principal balance. Yeah. So, and buy downs, if it makes sense for you, for first-time home buyers, they're probably the biggest type. But if you're planning on living in your house for the full 30 years, 25 to 30 years, then it might make sense to just buy down your rate for the life of the loan. So, you do what makes sense for you, because everybody's situation is different. But That's a little recap of what we talked about last week.
Yeah, that's very important. I know we had a lot of people asking about, do I lose the money or not? And no, you do not. It just gets applied.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so today the topic is going to be all about the first-time home buyer grants. And we're going to be explaining to you the local available grants that we have here for Cumberland County, Dauphin County, Lancaster County. If you have questions about other counties, Perry, Franklin, Adams, just let us know. We can do some further research for you. But for today, we're going to be focusing on those 3 counties. But we always have our myth of the day. So today, myth of the day is, a lot of people think that we have to put 20% down payment in order to qualify for a loan or buy a house. And that's not true, right, Kelly? That's definitely not true. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was like, yes, a lot of people think that. And I think the biggest reason that there is that myth, this misconception, is because the recommendation is, if you are able to put 20% down, it's better, because then you get rid of what's called the PMI, the private mortgage insurance, that the bank will charge if you borrow more than 80% of the value of the home. And Kelly can probably explain a little further what that PMI is and why is it applied for by the bank on the loan.
Yes. So like Nini said, with private mortgage insurance, if you're not putting 20% down, you will have to pay it. And there's different tiers. So if you're putting 10% down or 5%, actually we have our first-time home buyer conventional that you only have to put 3% down. And then you also have FHA, that's 3.5% down. So private mortgage insurance protects the lender. So if you don't put 20% down, you're paying that private mortgage insurance to the lender. And if you were to go into default for whatever reason, because everybody's situation is different, whether it's divorce or, hardship, then it protects the lender. So that private mortgage insurance protects the lender if you were to go into default on your loan. That's why you pay it. But like I said, there's different tiers. So if you put 15% down versus 10%, you're going to pay less in private mortgage insurance than you would if you're so the more you put down, the less mortgage insurance that you pay.
Because there's less liability on the bank.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and all the products, the private mortgage insurance goes away at 78% loan to value.
Mm-hmm.
It should automatically go away.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention to your principal balance, if you know, and I can always, the lender, whether it's me or whoever it is, they can always calculate what that number would be once you get to the 20%. You can call your lender and have it removed. So if you don't call and have it removed, it will automatically get removed at 78%. But if it gets down to the 20% mark, you know what that number is, you can call and have it removed.
So important thing to point out too is with the way the market has been rising a little faster than usual, you may be able to build equity faster than the normal time frame expected. So your house value will go up, which means if you believe, and you can always talk to your realtor to get some sort of estimated value for your property, but if you believe your value of your home, it's at a certain point where you actually have already 20% equity into the property, you actually can request a new appraisal from the bank and get that PMI removed much sooner than the calculated time from the purchase date. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That's why it's so important to stay in touch with your realtor and then now also get those updates on home value, because that could happen in 3 years instead of 5-6 years. So it's pretty key, and you probably could be saving $100 to even $200 on monthly payments from PMI.
Right. And so that is correct. You can definitely get an appraisal done and show that to the lender to get it removed. But if you don't do that, then obviously, like I said, at 80%, you can always call your lender. If you have your original appraisal on the property, then you can determine what that number is yourself and then call and have it removed. So on your monthly mortgage, as you pay down your mortgage, your payment should change. It should get lower, not your principal and interest, but that private mortgage insurance, that should be less each year as you're paying down on your mortgage, because it is based on what that loan to value is. So if that makes sense. And if anybody has any questions on it, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can go into more detail on it, because it's definitely a huge myth that, nobody wants to pay private mortgage insurance, and we get it, but it's, it's part of owning a home, and it's, if you don't
not
have
everybody can put 20% down to get rid of it. So one
Correct.
thing that is good to point it out too, the reason why the VA, the military loan, is so appealing as well, it's because there's no PMI on the VA loan, right? So
correct. So there's no PMI on VA or USDA. However, they're both two different products. They're both government. But with VA, if you are exempt from the fee that you have to pay, then you don't have the fee that gets financed into your loan. So the same with USDA. There's a USDA fee that gets financed in the loan. It's a very small percentage of the loan amount, and it gets financed into it. So when you settle, even though your purchase price is $200,000, your loan amount might end up being like $201,500, because that's how it's financed into your loan. It's not a high fee. It's not, anything that makes a difference on the payment. But the key thing to those two types of loans is you don't have to put any money down. So if you're a veteran, and another myth too is if you're a veteran, you can, if you're able to get your certificate of eligibility renewed, you can purchase a second home using your eligibility. So that is another small myth for veterans.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I believe the initial loan will have to be satisfied in order to reuse it again. There's some other determinations and different details that go in with it, but you can use your certificate of eligibility again. can use it
Yeah.
more than once.
And on top of the myth of the day of the 20% down payment, a lot of people also think that only VA loans, like the military loans, are zero money down. But there are actually many different products out there, including like you mentioned the USDA, which is also zero money down. And then there are some specific programs that you could even get a conventional loan zero money down, but not all banks offer that, so you kind of have to browse around. But there are some opportunities out there, and the most common ones are like conventional 3%, FHA 3.5%, USDA is 0, but it's only for certain areas. It's limited by agricultural areas. And then you have the military, which is limited to military personnel. But there are opportunities out there. So the more you talk to a loan officer to understand your options, the better that's for you, because there's tons of different options for you out there.
Correct. And I believe it was the Harrisburg area with so USDA has to be a certain type of property in a rural area. And I believe Harrisburg has expanded their region in Dauphin County to have more properties that are eligible for USDA.
Correct. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Not in the city, because the city is completely out of it, but there's surrounding areas of Harrisburg in the Dauphin County area are actually more inclusive now, which is great, because not everybody wants to be in the city anyway. So if you are wanting to stay in Dauphin County for like somewhat close to the city but not in the city, there are opportunities now that you can actually benefit from using the USDA zero money down to purchase homes in those areas. So
yes, and there's a couple different types of USDA. Some lenders, so there's two different types, but we use the guaranteed funds for USDA. So those funds never go away. So they're always available through Sierra Pacific to purchase a loan through USDA. So not everybody uses the same type of funds, but we do. So they're always available.
Oh, awesome. Well, so that was a lot of information, even for the myth of the day. But I figured we should definitely expand on that, because there's so much confusion on what's what, right? And I think that's important for them to know. So now let's get into the actual topic of the day, which is the first-time home buyer grants. I know Kelly prepared a lot of good information for us today, so you guys can really see what opportunities are available in each county, locally here to Central PA. So Kelly, take it away.
So I'm going to go over 4 different counties: York County, Lancaster County, Dauphin County, and Cumberland County. So first-time home buyer, there's a couple things that determine whether you're a first-time home buyer. And the first one is, if you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years, you would be considered part of that criteria. Also, if you were displaced by a divorce for whatever reason, and you're ready to purchase a new home, you would be considered a first-time home buyer. And also, if you lived in a mobile home that where you paid rent, so you weren't owning
the land, right? The land lease.
Correct. Then and you're looking to purchase a home that's not a mobile home, you would be considered a first-time home buyer. So, and that criteria goes into all 4 of these programs. So I am going to go over tenfold through York and Lancaster first, because they are very similar in their main criteria. So with tenfold, it goes along with our FHA program. So you can only have an FHA loan type with tenfold through York and Lancaster. The criteria for each of them is a little different when it comes to they each have an income limit. It all depends on how many members in the family. And
it is based on household, correct?
Correct, on the household. So 1 member in York County is $45,850. 2 members is $52,400. Whereas in Lancaster, it's a little bit higher. 1 member is $58,100, and 2 members is $66,400. And it goes all the way up. Both programs go all the way up to 8 members in the household. And so with Tenfold, there is a first-time homebuyer class that you would need to sit on and take. And actually, one of my colleagues, our bilingual loan officer, she actually she does one of the classes once or a couple times a month. She does the classes. She does the virtual class. So you can do the class virtual or in person, and they go over the same thing in both classes. So that class, the only thing that you're charged for those classes is a $25 fee to take that class. And then you get a certificate at the end of it, and that certificate is good for a year, and you have that, and you would use that, and you'd have to present that to us as part of this. Now, there's some other criteria that Tenfold would need from the borrower with the grant. So the grant for York County, you can get up to $7,000. If the purchase price of the home is more than $60,000, you can get up to $7,000, or 6% of the sales price.
So 6% for $7,000. That's the cap.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the cap for York County. So there's some other criteria if it's less than $60,000. I'm not going to go into every single detail, but it's good to know the max that you can get is the $7,000 or the 6% of the sales price.
Now, do you know if with that amount, we are still able to negotiate seller's assistance on top of having that?
Correct. And with FHA, you can get up to 6%. Now, there is a minimum that the borrower has to put into the funds, and that is 2% of the purchase price for York County.
Okay.
The max purchase price for York County is $180,000. If it's an existing home, if it's a new construction, the max is $243,000 for the purchase price. With both York and Lancaster, the grant that you get it's not forgivable. You never pay on it, but if you were to refinance or sell your house, that lien will have to be paid off. So,
is it prorated?
I'm sorry?
Is it prorated? If you have to pay it off, is it prorated on the time that you've been in the property or no?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So if you get $7,000 if you purchase a home in York and it's $7,000 and that's how much you get, that it stays as a second lien as $7,000 and for the life of the loan until it gets paid off, either through a sale or refinance. And the same with Lancaster County. So that's York County. And in Lancaster County, the limits are a little bit higher. So in Lancaster, you can get up to $10,000 or 8% of the purchase price.
That's huge.
So, and the max purchase price for Lancaster County is $209,000. If it's new construction, it's $247,000. Okay. So things are a little bit higher in Lancaster County. I'm going to assume because the cost of living is just slightly higher.
Slightly higher, yeah.
But the same thing goes into play. Like I said, with the grant, it would have to be paid off through purchase, through a sale or refinance. And it goes along with the FHA loan, and the buyer still has to have a certain percentage into the loan amount. But it's a great program for first-time home buyers. There's a lot of people who use both of these programs. And like I said, it's the same thing. They still have to take that full day first-time home buyer class, and has the income limits up to 8 members. But it's a very popular first-time home buyer program in Lancaster and York County. So, and with FHA, one real quick thing, the minimum credit score requirement for these programs is 620. Okay. So most of our programs, most of our programs for first-time home buyers is 620 across the board. The only one that's not is the USDA, and that's 640, the mid credit score.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go into Dauphin County, and with Dauphin County, you can get up to $3,000 in down payment assistance, and with all these programs, so the down payment that $3,000 goes towards down payment, and anything above and beyond that will go towards closing costs. Like it doesn't go away. It's if you get the $3,000, it goes towards everything.
Gotcha.
And again, there are income limits. So with Dauphin County, your household income cannot exceed 80% of the Dauphin County median income, depending on the family size. So it's slightly different than Lancaster and York, the income limits, but that's how it's calculated through Dauphin County.
Gotcha.
And I have little PDF documents and all the details of all this. So if anybody's watching us right now and they want anything, they can reach out to me. Either call me, email me, and I can get this out to everybody.
Yeah,
So
if you do want additional information from Kelly or myself, I always just leave a message here on comment on this live, and we can touch base back with you, or you can message us directly on our pages. We'd be happy to send that information to you or set up a call so we can talk about it as well.
So, and Dauphin County, just like Lancaster and York, so this grant is not forgiven. So it would have to be paid off if they ever sell or refinance. But one thing that is a little different between Lancaster, York, and Dauphin is if the homeowner refinances, they can have that second mortgage resubordinated to be still part of the loan. So,
okay.
So if it's refinanced, they don't have to have it paid off. They can subordinate it to
the new home.
So, but it would still be there as a lien if they were to ever sell it. So that is a little different from the other two.
And is that a timing that those non-forgivable, down payment assistance stay within the loan? Like, do they actually get spread out to the 30 years? Is that how it gets paid off?
Just whatever that lien is, it just has to be paid off, if that makes sense. So there's no change in the amount. So Cumberland County is a little different, but with these, that amount, it still stays the same.
Gotcha.
And the maximum price for Dauphin County is $195.
Okay.
So, and obviously the home has to be located in Dauphin County.
That makes sense.
So the last one is Cumberland County, and this one is a little bit different on how this one's determined. They will match the buyer's contribution 3-1. So for every $1 the buyer uses to purchase the house, they will provide a $3,000 grant. And with their chart, that $3,000 goes to all households that are between 80% and 100% of the median income. So you can, in Cumberland County, you can get up to $5,000 if the annual income is less than the 80% median income.
I see.
So they have the same, it goes up to the household size, goes up to 8 people in the household, but their criteria and their chart's a little different because they have between the 80% to 100% median income and below 80%. And you can get up to $5,000. But the other thing that's different with Cumberland County is if you are in the home for 5 years, the grant gets forgiven.
Oh, that's huge.
So that's huge. So if you stay in your home for more than 5 years, the grant, whether it's $3,000, $5,000, whatever that amount is, it does get forgiven and that lien does go away. I highly recommend if you do that, you make sure that happens.
So you don't have to worry about that.
So,
and it's not prorated, right? On this case, that one is not prorated. So if you do sell prior to 5 years, like say 4 years and a half, you still have to pay the entire amount.
You would still have to pay it back if you don't wait, if you are still in the home for 5 years. So whether you're
thinking about selling at the 4-year mark, just wait another year at that point.
Exactly.
Otherwise you might have to pay that back.
So So they're all great programs, and I have details, like specific details on all of them. So if anybody has any questions on them, I'd be more than happy to answer them or send this stuff out. They're really great programs for first-time home buyers.
And one question that I had about all of them, the person need to be working or living in the county that they're applying for the grants, or they just need to be purchasing on that county? Because I think there was some changes that happened within the last year, and I wasn't sure if they applied to these grants as well. You know?
Well, with Tenfold, I don't know the answer to that question for Cumberland and Dauphin County, but I know for Tenfold, I believe you have to be living, and that is part of one of the things I have here, that they must live in Lancaster County for the past 2 years. So I believe that is still a thing with Tenfold for Lancaster and York. I don't know that I don't know the answer to that for the other two, but I can find out.
Yeah, and you can confirm that for maybe our next episode when we do the recap. But I have a feeling that does apply for Cumberland and Dauphin, because it used to be.
I'm sure that it.
Yeah, it used to be that you could purchase in the county, but I feel like now, I think it's been a year now that they changed where you need to either work on that county or live in that county already in order to be able to use the grant for that county as well. So
yeah.
I think that's the only thing that we can get confirmation on that.
Yep,
but
I can.
It's definitely for sure in Lancaster. And I don't know about York. Is York the same as Lancaster?
It is. So it is the same. They would have to live within the York or Lancaster region for the previous 2 years. So there have been exceptions made, but that is definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get that confirmation to you guys on the recap next episode. I do want to do a quick brief summary of last week's market update. I know I gave you guys a pretty comprehensive update on our first episode, so I don't want to go over all of that again because we haven't had that many changes. But for this past week, just to give you an idea on how the market is flowing. We had in Cumberland County, we had 31 new listings come in, but we also had 35 go under contract just last week alone. So that kind of shows you that overall, we still have a pretty strong sellers market, even through, going into the holidays, which is kind of scary to look at it. But I did mention about the more heated pockets of market. So this kind of peakiness does not apply to all areas. It does apply to some more heated markets. So in some areas, the properties are sitting much longer, and in some areas are still pretty quick. So it really depends on the area. It's not even by city, it's sometimes by neighborhood. So, if you want to know if a specific area that you're looking to purchase is that more sellers or buyers market, just let me know and I'll do a specific research for that area. Now, in comparison to Cumberland, Dauphin County had 40 new listings, and then from the 40, 52 went on the contract. So that means whatever was leaving from the previous week got on the contract on last week. So we had more properties go under contract and new properties coming into the market. So that shows that we might have a lack of listings coming into this coming week. And then for Lancaster County, very similar. We had 49 new listings come in the market last week, and then 50 went under contract. So again, we probably is in a 1 ratio or maybe 0.9 ratio for Lancaster, just because of how quickly the houses are going standing in most of the areas of Lancaster County. And then to give you a summary of what has closed last week, so we had 44 properties in Lancaster closed and settled, and then Dauphin had 35 and Cumberland had 27. So Lancaster is definitely the busiest of the 3 counties, and then Dauphin and Cumberland are kind of similar in a way, falling short behind. So that's what I had for this week. And then one thing that is interesting to see is in all the 3 counties, we are seeing more expires happening now. Expires, I mean properties that were listed for sale but never sold. to the point that the contract between the leasing agent and the seller expired, right? That's what we call it, the expires. And we had one last week go expired in Cumberland County. So that means that they're not really expiring that much, at least not on a weekly basis. We had 8 in Dauphin County. And I did do further research, and they were all in the city, which is normal to see properties in the CDC for a little longer. Lancaster, we only had 4. So, it's still.
What do you mean by expired?
So expires is when the contract between the seller's agent and the seller, they probably gave a contract of 3 months or 6 months to sell, and that contract expired without the property ever selling.
Okay.
So that's what that means. So there are some properties out there that sat for so long to the point that the contract between that agent and that seller expired, and now they're still not sold and available. Those properties are usually the ones that we can get the best deals for our buyers, because if they ever come back on the market, which they probably would, it could be even beginning of this coming year, because a lot of people take their properties off market throughout the holidays. They might be more eager to sell because they already tried and failed within probably at least 3 months. So it shows that we may have some better deals coming up in the next month or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's the market update for this week. I think we're pretty much on the time we wanted to be in. Do you have anything else to point out to the public today, Kelly?
I don't think so. I think
we're pretty comprehensive. You did give us a pretty good insight on the brand, so thank you so much for that. I think if anybody has additional questions, you can always reach out to us on the side. And then next week, we're going to be bringing some more insights for you on the real estate market. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon. And Kelly, have an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye, guys.